Every black person knows the feeling. You walk into a room, a corporate office, country club, a party, and you do the math. You look around and you realize, I'm the only black person here. And instantly, the alarm bells start to go off in the back of your head. A quiet, nagging question creeps in. Are these people really my homies? If something goes sideways, do they have my back? Society loves to tell you that that's just anxiety, that you're just being paranoid. But today, we're going to talk about why that anxiety isn't paranoia at all. It's a highly evolved survival instinct forged from a history of betrayal. Today, we're going to talk about the history of black isolation. This is One My Black History. Black stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemyhistory.com. Also, join me at my Substack. But without further ado, let's get started. To understand the dangers of being the only black person in white spaces, you have to understand the lie that they told you about assimilation. For generations, the narrative they sold black folks is a very specific promise. Proximity to whiteness equals safety. You're taught that if you just speak the right way, get the right degree, move to the right neighborhood, integrate into the right spaces, that you'll get a pass. We're told that being the only black person is a sign of progress, that you've made it. But that's a comfortable lie. Proximity without your community isn't progress. It's a target. It's exposure. When you step into predominantly white spaces without the safety net of your own people, you're entirely reliant on the goodwill of individuals who have absolutely no skin in the game regarding your survival. You become a demographic anomaly. You're isolated, and history has proven time and time again that the moment you get separated from your people to chase this illusion of exclusivity, you put your life in the hands of people who can and will turn on you the moment that it's convenient. And this isn't a new phenomenon. The blueprint for this trap has been drawn over centuries. Take the story of Solomon Northup. Most people know about the movie 12 Years a Slave, but they miss exactly how he was captured. In 1841, Solomon was a free black man. He was a working violinist supporting his family in Saratoga Springs, New York. He had the 1840 equivalent of a pass. Two white men, Merritt Brown and Abraham Hamilton, approached him. They presented themselves as friends, as business partners. They offered Northam a highly lucrative gig, $1 a day and $3 per performance to travel with their circus to Washington, D.C. They didn't kidnap him in broad daylight. They broke bread with him. They acted as advocates. They did everything they could to make him feel comfortable, equal, and respected. Northup trusted them, but that isolation was exactly the point. Once they got him to Washington, D.C., which was a slave-holding territory at the time, there were no black peers to anchor his reality, no community to notice that he was missing, no network to watch his back. That friendship evaporated the instant he became profitable. They drugged him, they stole his free papers, and they sold him to a slave pen for $650. Because Northup trusted the wrong white folks in an isolated space, 12 years of his life were stolen. He was beaten, starved, forced into the labor camps in the swamps of Mississippi. The rules of friendship changed the second his white friends realized they could extract value out of the situation. And black folks continue to learn this lesson the hard way. By the 20th century, we literally created a manual on how to avoid this trap. This led to the creation of the Green Book in 1936. Victor Hugo Green, a black postal worker from Harlem, didn't create the travel guide because he wanted you to take scenic trips to the Grand Canyon. He wrote it because black families were getting a little bit of money, buying cars, and driving into primarily white spaces and getting hunted for it. Green understood that relying on the kindness of white strangers in some isolated sundown town was a dangerous gamble. You couldn't just pull up to some random gas station or some random hotel because you would be the only black person in town and you could disappear and no one would ever know. The Green Book mapped out safe spaces because entering those white spaces without a network meant putting your safety and your family's safety at risk. By 1962, the Green Book had a circulation of over 2 million copies. That wasn't about tourism. It's because we understood the daily reality of being black in primarily white spaces. Now, the dangers of isolation didn't stop in 1841 with Solomon Northup, and it didn't stop in 1936 with Victor Green, and it ain't over today. Look at Nolan Wells. In July of 2026, Nolan was an 18-year-old black college freshman with his entire life ahead of him. He did exactly what society told him to do. He assimilated. He built relationships across racial lines, and on the 4th of July, he went on a boat trip with 3 of his white friends to Horn Island, a remote sandbar 10 miles off the coast of Mississippi. Now, we don't know exactly what happened on that sandbar, and we're not here to play detective or convict anyone. That's not this story. The actual story is a terrifying, fatal exposure of being black in white spaces. Because what we do know is, when the stakes were high, when things got weird, Nolan had no one to watch his back. His so-called friends packed up their stuff, got in a boat, and went home. They left someone who was supposed to be their friend behind on an island 10 miles off the coast of Mississippi. Now, his family is dealing with his death, deleted text message, conflicting stories, a wall of high-priced lawyers hired by the very people that were supposed to be his friends. And this is just the worst case scenario of what could happen when you assimilate into white spaces without this connection to the black community. And black folks have been warning each other about this long before Nolan Wells ever left for that island. Because history tells us that the moment things go sideways, this illusion of friendship evaporates. Self-preservation kicks in, and the first thing they're going to do is close rank, blame you, call you a nigger, and protect themselves. You can integrate into their spaces, you can get on their boats, you can separate yourself from your people, but you become entirely reliant on their goodwill. You can tell yourself that they're your friends, but you don't have any compass to reality. You can't tell if you're being gaslit, you don't know if you're being set up, and when it matters most, you don't know if you're being left unprotected. Let's look at the math of the situation. When a confrontation happens, who is going to de-escalate on your behalf? If the police are called, who is going to vouch for your character? If the weather goes bad, who is going to make absolutely sure that you make it back home? If the answer is nobody, baby, you in danger. In the end, we put ourselves in extreme danger when we prioritize this illusion of inclusivity over the reality of this world. You can't out-assimilate your skin color. And trusting people who have no vested interest in your survival is a life or death gamble. So the next time your gut tells you that things are getting weird in primarily white spaces, listen to it. You're not crazy. You're not paranoid. Just remember Solomon Northup. Remember Victor Green had to write a whole manual on this. Don't wait around for someone to prove to you that they're your real friend, and find your people and get the hell off that island. Thank you. This has been One Mic Black History. I'm his country boy. There's been a lot to talk about Nolan Wells, and I usually don't do opinion pieces. And I know that a lot of this was, my personal feelings on a subject, on a tragedy. But I wanted to give it a historical perspective because it was totally rooted in. That said, I don't know the facts of the case. I don't know what's going to happen. We may look back at this in the future and decide that Mike was crazy and he was making things up and things were not as I pictured them. If that's the case, you can still come back to this video because being isolated as a black person is still a real thing. That said, I'd like to thank all my day ones, all my financial contributors, everybody who gives their time, energy, and effort and money to make this possible. I love every single one of you. I thank you for your support. Peace.